Hello, this is Chris Ott, and this is the continuation of part 7 on causation. Now, throughout history, up until the modern era, cause was always seen as something outside of the thing that's being affected. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Aristotle believed that when you eat food, the food does all the work of nourishing you. Your body is entirely passive. You eat food and the food goes to work, providing you with everything that you need. And this idea of the recipient being, or the person being passive, was also applied to perception. So the idea was the sense organs, according to Aristotle, were passive. In the act of perceiving, even your mind is passive. It's just being acted upon by something that's coming into your body. Okay? So that which is something outside of your perception has to be causing your perception. This is partially where we get the notion of the external world that we can't perceive, that's outside of our experience, causing our experience. Now, in modern times, we find that this idea that you have something on the outside is always fully active and you are passive, we see that that's not true. For instance, when we eat, we now know that our stomach and our blood and enzymes and all kinds of activity in our bodies much more active than the food in our getting nutrients that we need. The food's broken down by our body. It's nutrients that are needed in one place are sent there, etc. So there's kind of a sharing, between the food and your body. So we kind of don't think like that anymore in modern times. So there are other examples I could give, but I have in other talks about that. But the first person to start to apply that to perception, the notion that we are not passive observers, was Kant. And I truly don't know anybody preceding him that thought about like this. But it's very modern, but it's applied to psychology. The notion is that Kant did believe there was an unseen external world, which he called the noumenon. Okay, and we can't perceive it. We only perceive the content of our own mind. However, what comes to us from the noumenon, we organize that into the experience that we have. It's not like that in the noumenon itself. Okay, and two aspects that he said that we contribute to our experience. That's not literally in the external world, but our minds organize that data. The way we experience it is space. Okay, so he didn't actually believe that space was an attribute of the external world. It was something more indescribable. But the data that comes to us from the external world, through our senses, our mind then organizes it spatially, so that this is here and this is here and these are far apart, and okay. And so space is something that we contribute to our experience. We're not passive in it. It's an active addition that our minds give to its object. Now he did the same with time, okay? So time he also didn't believe was an aspect of the external world or the noumenon, but that what came through our senses from the noumenon, we then, again, we organized it temporally. We saw this is happening now, and this will happen then, and this is tomorrow, and this is yesterday. Okay? So we stretch things out in time in our experience. Now there's a obvious problem with this idea. There are only two ways that you can separate something, that you could have a demarcation between one thing and another, and that is time and space. You can divide things by this happens now and this happens then. That's a division in time. And you can divide things by this is over here and this is over here, and that's a division in space. But since division is not real, it's just in our mind, how could the noumenon or the external world be outside of our mind and or outside of our experience or outside of even our head? Do you see the problem? There is no real there aren't the dimensions that would make it possible for there to be a separation. Therefore, Kant's contemporaries concluded that Kant had not successfully escaped the problem of other idealists, and he had fallen also into the problem of solipsism, the idea that everything's in your head. Okay? However, the contribution that Kant made is really interesting, and I want people to see it, because I use this, but I extend it, and we don't have the problem that I just named. But it's going to be very hard to explain, and it's going to help for me to continue this at the Circle Center, which recently reopened. I'll be doing that tomorrow, and I'll have some props that I think will help me to show what I'm doing. But the part that's really new is that Kant is looking at certain attributes of what we perceive adverbially. An adverb is sort of like, it describes an action. So it describes, in this case, the way we perceive affects what we perceive. Now that's very modern in psychology. It's very close to Gestalt psychology, where you are not passive in your experience. You do organize your experience, okay? And I've gone over that in the past too, quite a bit. But this is the change. And this is important because he's moving away from just a nominal cause of our experience, although he has that, the noumenon, still. He hasn't been able to let that go. But he is beginning to look for a mechanism of our perception, of mechanics, which is, again, modern. Although in this case, it's applied psychologically, it's mental mechanics, but it's mechanics nonetheless. And so he's explaining what we perceive by how we perceive. And so we're going to find out that taken to its full extension, which Kant never did, this actually can explain and give cause to our experience of the world without postulating a problematic, inconceivable external world, which just leads to the mind-body problem. Okay? This will be more clear when I talk again tomorrow. That's all. I'm keeping this short today. Tomorrow I'll be in another location, back where I started, and I'm real happy about that. And thank you for watching. I'll see you then.